This is James Arnold Taylor, voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Welcome to a more civilized podcast. This is the podcast you're looking for. You may not go about your business. Stay here, listen, and then move along.
Hello there, and welcome to this post-Thanksgiving episode of A More Civilized Podcast. I almost forgot the name of the show.
It's A More Civilized Podcast.
That's right.
If you're confused where you ended up.
That's because my brain is full of Thanksgiving leftovers, of which I've had much today. So,
Good day.
yep, had a turkey sandwich.
Yeah. I had one yesterday,
and
but
pie.
we try and go light on the Thanksgiving leftovers until Sunday so that we can have a full Sunday meal out of them.
My lunch yesterday was a quart of eggnog and a half of chocolate cream pie.
Healthy. Yeah.
Wow.
While I watched The Mandalorian. It was fantastic. I was living the gluttonous American dream yesterday.
For sure.
That's not my American dream.
Now I got the diabetes. Just kidding. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're working your way there at least.
Woo! I'm Kyler.
I'm Chris.
I'm Ross.
I forgot the other half of the intro.
We got there. We got there.
Okay. So.
It was just one half followed by a bunch of padding and another half.
There you
Like the
go.
first 3 episodes of The Mandalorian.
Oh!
Zing.
That was great. Good one, Chris.
But he only specified the first 3, so maybe he has a better opinion of the fourth.
We're
which
getting
we'll
there,
save.
Ross.
Yeah,
Shush, we're getting there.
It's
Ross,
just-
do your
It's
news.
just foreshadowing. The newsy news?
The newsiest
Suppose.
news.
That's right.
If we're gonna do this, we need
Wait,
to
no, it needs
do
to be
it.
better so they can hear it.
We
There we
need
go.
to do it right if we're gonna do this. I want like the dun 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 dun, like actual like news intro music. You know, do it, Ross.
I'm way too lazy.
I will find you music. And
It'll-
you just put it in.
It'll probably be terrible.
I don't care. Right, because the rest of the show is of such high quality, we wouldn't want to ruin it.
Hey, according to the one dude that reviewed us, it's great.
Yeah, our
Excellent
audio
was the word.
Yeah,
Mhm.
excellent audio
So-
quality.
so there.
We were flattered.
Sir.
Yeah.
And concerned about his taste. But
Yeah. Well, he's clearly never listened to it.
We're concerned about the taste of everyone who listens to this.
Yeah, for reals.
just kidding, don't stop listening because apparently you listened to one. Anyway.
Oh boy.
So many things happening today. Several bits of Mandalorian news. First and foremost, the saddest news. There is still currently no Baby Yoda merchandise.
I know I'm gonna fetching rage flip this table if I don't get a plush Baby Yoda.
That's right.
So cute.
So, shortly after,
I saw on Facebook somebody who has like a resin printer or whatever did a 3D 3D resin cast whatever Baby Yoda to Legion scale in his little baby basket.
oh man,
I was like, oh my goodness, I want it so bad.
I feel bad. I feel like I'm just like the only person around who's like, yeah, he's cute. What else?
He's way
like,
cute.
He's
who
pretty
cares?
stinking cute.
He is, but
but
I don't know. I was over it after 2 episodes. I don't. Which was actually 1 episode since we barely got any of them in the first one.
yeah. I mean, it used to be that one little baby Ewok was the cutest thing in Star Wars. The one
That's
in Return
true.
of the Jedi.
That maybe is pretty cute.
Baby Yoda does it for me though.
I mean, he's adorable. I don't disagree. I'm just, I don't, that's about the end of my emotion regarding it. It's like, yeah, he's cute.
Now
Oh well.
we now have more evidence that Chris is in fact cold and heartless.
That's fair. But
Yes, because that one piece now makes the difference on the mountaintop.
No, it's
It
just
is
another.
Chris's
It's just
indifference
another,
and coldness.
But it's a pretty big piece there, Kyler. Come on.
In the sense that, like, a boulder on top of Mount Timpanogos is still large, but in comparison...
Fine. Anyway, so the reason why they don't have any merchandise is because the showrunners at The Mandalorian wanted to avoid potential spoilers because toy companies are notorious for not
Yes.
keeping secrets as
Yeah.
much as they would like. And so they just didn't even tell them they were going to do a thing until after The Mandalorian started airing.
Especially, like, Lego, they are bad at
Yeah.
keeping secrets.
Yes, they are.
Like,
They are.
you will, so they'll come out with, like, new Lego sets for a new Star Wars movie in December, and you'll find out about it in, like, April. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's always like on the outlets that I'll watch for pop culture stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Lego is always
Lego is like one of
their
the
news
worst
roll.
offenders for leaking materials.
Yep.
Great products though.
It's true. So, Mandalorian merch will be coming soon. I had read an article that said that it was going to be before this upcoming Christmas, but that seems to have been in error because I've read stuff since then that says it'll be later than that.
Well, and speaking of merch and Lego, I can't remember where I saw it. If somebody sent me a text or a message, or if I saw it on Twitter or Facebook or somewhere, but I saw the little Lego battle packs that come with 3 or 4 people in it or whatever of the Mandalorians. That final
from
battle.
the episode. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it has 4 different Mandalorians in it with
because I was just thinking you could probably do
things.
some of the already released stuff. You already had a full shot of the Mandalorian himself, so you could have done stuff for him. But I don't even.
A full but already outdated shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even think of anything I've seen of him anywhere. But that could have been, I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure they have it handled. You'll get stuff eventually. On the note of spoilers, there is an article from IGN, from the producers, talking about how they've been keeping the secrets of the Mandalorian. And I think after this last episode, my big takeaway is, boy, they must have threatened those kids within an inch of their lives, keeping that baby Yoda secret. So in this most recent episode, you had a whole herd of kids playing with little baby Yoda, and no one heard anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because kids, I'm even if you stress that something's important,
that's a hard one.
That's frankly incredible that none of those kids did.
We are, in fact, sure that all these kids are still alive.
They all died of natural causes over the last few months?
Yeah, they suicided themselves, right? Disney's like, hey, listen, there's one way we can keep this secret. Send in the Mandalorian.
So, the article is mostly about the merchandising, which we have just talked about. But there is one little blurb about how much they're going to talk about Baby Yoda himself and about Yoda's species. That's been one of my big concerns going into this, is that they're going to turn him into the next midi-chlorians.
Mm-hmm.
But Filoni explains, one of the reasons that I really got interested in this story that John was pitching was the subject of this child. Knowing George and how important the character of Yoda is to him, I wanted to make sure that I could help shepherd this idea, and that, then he pauses, we still want to keep a lot of things a mystery. We don't want to go around answering things and making them less special, but let's tell a story that's interesting and compelling and add to this great galaxy. So, hopefully that means they'll leave more mystery than not.
Yeah.
Hopefully that means they'll start being interesting and compelling.
Yeah. Well, and with how many episodes we have had of Baby Yoda now and how much they just aren't answering, the Mandalorian isn't even asking questions about him, So I'm more and more confident that we'll be
in episode 3, he literally was just like, why did you want him? It's like, I was keeping him safe. Okay, I'm just going to leave then without actually getting an answer to my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm torn, especially the historian in me. I want to know details of this species. It's there's that part of me that's give me more, let me know. But at the same time, like you already brought up, what if it's a midichlorian situation, though? That's something I think we would have all been better off without. And so I'm kind of like, if they decide to leave Yoda a mystery, I will accept it, even though it would be nice to at least know even the name of the species. But, if they give us more than that, though, I'm like, ooh. I just want to know what they're called, and after that, I'm fine with them being mysterious.
I would really like for someone to clarify that it's no, this particular one we managed to track down and caught this one because it has the Force or something like that. Not that all of them are just so powerful with the Force.
Yeah.
Well, and I vaguely remember a reference that I'd read way back in the day that Yoda was supposed to be from a species of more Force attuned.
Sure, yeah,
things.
but that's the thing, is that's what I was talking about in one of our previous episodes, where it's we are going to define every race, every culture, everything, whatever, by whatever character we saw from there first.
Yeah.
So every Mandalorian is a bad A bounty hunter with, or warrior with the exact same helmet, exact same armor, exact same everything, because that's what they have to be, because that's what Boba Fett was.
Right.
And it's just like, and everything comes out of that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Yoda. It's like, oh, Yoda is uber powerful. It can't be just because, he spent 900 years learning and growing and evolving into a very wise person. No. They're just all naturally wise and better than all of us.
Well, I mean, we do have 2 examples of that very thing.
Exactly.
Maybe this is number 3.
So basically what the Imperials are doing are going like, oh man, we've been, all human-centric in our bigotry lately, but we finally realized this is the superior master race. And we just need to wipe out everyone but them.
Yeah, just kill everything more superior than you, then you're the superior race.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. Anyway, and finally, because I'm going to skip that one because we're going to talk about it in this episode anyway. Okay. Probably the most fun little bit of news coming out of this last week is poor old John Boyega.
Yes.
And the trouble he got into over the last little bit.
Yeah, it's a good thing he's already done with his last movie, because otherwise that might have been his last.
I mean, we'd see John walking around in a couple of knee casts.
Well, and it also worked out pretty well, so it's like the script didn't get out beyond those 2 people.
Which is mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, it is.
So just so for those
so
that
much
may not
about
have heard,
this is.
Yeah. So during the end of filming, actually they must have wrapped, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
The Rise of Skywalker. John Boyega goes home, has his script.
Yeah, he's moving apartments.
He's moving
just
apartments.
moved into one.
And well, he's
one of the
just
movers is like,
out, so he's packing
for
up.
Star Wars.
Well, hold on. Let's go through the story. He goes home, I guess, to have a little bit of a party. He puts the script under his bed and forgets about it and moves, right? And just takes off, leaves out of the apartment.
Is moving, is in the process of it, I think, and then a cleaner comes in.
A cleaner comes in,
during
so I'm assuming you're kind of gone
something
by
like
then.
that.
But anyway, someone comes in, finds the script, and puts it up on eBay because
they
of course
they gave it to someone else who then put it up on eBay for a buy it now price of £65.
If I had known,
which in real money is about $85.
Yeah, I would have bought that right now.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If I'd seen that,
everyone would have.
Yeah.
See, and I was thinking about this when I heard. I was like, how much money would I put it up for? 10,000 maybe?
I wouldn't put it up for any money because I'd be so terrified of what Disney would do to me.
Yeah, that would be
I'd
the
just
other
be
part of
hoarding
it.
that at home.
Yeah, and then a couple of years from now, be like, oh, I have
By
this
the way,
souvenir that I showed
I
my
am
friends.
in possession. I stole John Boyega's script. Like, that's the other difficult part. It's like Disney would be well within their rights to prosecute you there.
Yeah.
I really wish though. I just want to see that boardroom meeting, where it's just like, okay, guys, we got this thing that just came to our attention. There's a script for Rise of Skywalker on eBay, and it looks like it's legit. Wait, what? Are you kidding me? Like, whose script is it? I don't know. We're gonna ask around. Okay, we got the information. It's John's. It's like, Boyega! Dang it! Of course it is. What are we doing to him? It's like, well, I mean, it seems like it's all right. Like, we might be able to buy it back or something. It's just like, yeah, well, of course we're going to buy it back. How much is it? It's like, it's £65.
The smoking CEO from the back
of course
of the room.
We're going to buy it back.
We're going to buy it.
How much does it cost? It's like, it's £65. It's like,
that's it?
How much is that in real money?
Yeah.
So that's about $85. Is this a joke?
It's $85,000?
Here, just have my lunch money. Yeah. It'll only take about half of that.
Exactly.
Oh,
this is the quality theater of mind content you show up for.
yes, absolutely.
And he's still in his Hawaiian shirt.
Yes, naturally. It's just like, all right, good. That problem's resolved. Give it about 6 months, and then John Boyega's going to have an accident. You don't F with the mouse.
I'm imagining him, like, sitting in a Mickey Mouse ear hat. Like, don't mess with the mouse.
Yeah, so the crisis was averted, and we...
Well, crisis for Disney was averted.
Crisis
for John Boyega, now scheduled for
Yes.
later next year.
Yes, has just begun.
Everyone pray for John Boyega.
He might be skipping the country. We don't know.
He might need some stalkers to, like, take care of him for a while.
Anyway, so thanks, John. Thanks, John, for the laughs.
Oh, no kidding. That was great. Chris, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is our newsy news.
The newsiest news.
I hate you both.
It warms my heart so much.
Steven,
It
I
really
know,
does.
right?
Thank
Isn't
you,
it
Chris.
great?
See what you've done.
Thank you.
It's terrible. All right. So today we're talking about several random things. Ross wanted to talk about Fallen Order, which he's almost finished. I had wanted to talk about The Mandalorian, but wasn't going to. And then Chris was like, "Oh, we could talk about the last 2 episodes of The Mandalorian." I was like, "Well, if you force me, I guess I will."
that episode.
And then the original idea for this episode was to talk about the really hilariously clever TV show Community and its Star Wars episode. And so we decided, hey, let's just talk about those 3 things, and that will be a decent episode. So, Ross, Fallen Order, take it away.
Okay. So first thing I want to say is thank you for those that have been tuning into the streams.
And watching Ross fall off edges like a noob.
Sorry, I wasn't there to comment. I meant to be there at least once, but I had to be a father and husband.
Yes, a real person for a little while. I'm just grateful that I convinced Carrie to take care of the dog while I play. Anyway, and to your comment, Tyler, we're going to talk about this section.
There was wind. The sun was in your eyes too, Ross.
Now that Ross, you finished it, I assume.
No, I have not.
Okay,
finished
once Ross finishes it, you will be treated to Kyler streaming and playing
For real.
that game while Ross and I
actually-
mock him.
Yes.
Watching Ross play that game, it does not look like a game that I would enjoy playing.
Yeah, I'm not big on the Souls-like stuff.
Yeah,
And I've
puzzle
wanted to
games
try and get
stuff
into
like
it.
that.
Puzzles I do like.
Yeah.
And
I normally am not either, but that's why this has been a little bit better of a kind of an introduction into that sort of style.
yeah.
I do like the idea more of having an actual like conversation of combat rather than just like putting a number combo together,
Yeah.
which this very much is. So, long story short for review, I am really enjoying the game, but there's some kind of big and interesting problems that I'm surprised are still there. So, the level design is fantastic. It really, really reminds me of the old LucasArts days. Your maps will wind in around and on themselves. You find yourself having to kind of traverse through areas in fairly interesting ways. They have the balance beam mechanic, which a lot of games over the last lots of years have done, but they were nice enough.
Look, we have a physics engine game.
Yeah, they were nice enough to not actually let you fall off it.
Oh.
Normally, when you have that mechanic, you have to kind of balance the character as you walk across, and it's always terrible.
Oh, that balance beam. Okay,
Yes.
I thought we were doing like a seesaw thing. And
Oh,
I was
no,
like,
no.
really? They're pulling that out? I thought we'd gotten past that.
No, like if you're walking like a tightrope, it's a tightrope mechanic.
I gotcha.
So most of the time when you see that, your character's going to fall off, and you're going to have to try and wiggle him across, and it's
Yeah.
always terrible. But this time they're just like, no, you can just go ahead and you just push forward, and it's fine. So
Then why do it?
that's a good question,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Sometimes it might be a pacing thing that might want you to slow down for a bit. There's lots of things it could be. My major problems with the game are twofold. That the actual controls are a bit clunky.
But are they McClunky?
Yes.
Okay.
So, when I first loaded up the game and made sure everything was ready to stream, I let it kind of play through the opening cinematic and get to the actual first bit where you have control of your character. And just kind of took him and spun him around to make sure that, everything was fine. And it was odd how floaty he was. Like, he takes a little bit
What do you
longer
mean
to stop.
floaty?
So when you push on the stick,
Uh-huh.
the response is just a little bit
Okay.
slow, and when
I
you
see.
let go, he takes a little bit longer to stop than what you would expect.
So there's just
So,
a slight delay in.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like the physics weren't quite.
Weren't quite.
Yeah, they
The sun was in my eyes. For you confused listeners, Chris just disappeared from the table for a few moments and returned in cool sunglasses.
They are
can,
way cool.
I can close the blinds.
Now you're good, you're good.
Okay. Anyway, so things are just a little bit floaty. It's not quite as tight as what you would want.
Mm-hmm.
And
I got that impression watching some of the gameplay.
yeah,
I tuned into a bit of your stream after the fact, and I could see. I was like, "Yeah, that looks."
Is
a
there
little
any
floaty.
way
Yeah.
to adjust the mouse sensitivity or whatever to make it more responsive?
I haven't actually looked at the settings.
Okay.
Because usually there isn't, not in this case. They usually.
Sorry, Kelsey, by the way, for all the video game talk. Bear with us.
Yeah, it'll be over in a minute. The other thing that I have a real problem with is a lot of the combat, your controls just aren't as responsive as what you would think they would be. So in this game, they're borrowing from a lot of different genres, and kind of they're amalgamating a lot of different mechanics from a lot of different things. As far as the fighting goes, you would think they would have taken a few cues from like fighting games, but it's not.
It's
It's
EA,
not to that level.
so let's not do anything the smart way, Ross.
EA is the publisher, Respawn was the developer. EA didn't have anything to do with that.
Whatever.
That explains actually its relative level of quality. But
Yeah. Yeah, boy. That's
So
good.
when you're fighting with someone or something and you hit the block button, it takes a second longer than what you'd expect it to block. You have to give a lot of leeway before and after things for you to actually continue on. Like if you're making an attack, it's going to take you longer before you can do something else than what you'd expect. And they have a little bit of a stamina mechanic, meaning if you're blocking something, you can only block for so long before your guy gets tired and the attacks go through, which is interesting because you do have to kind of think about, what you're going to do, when to block, when to do something else. But the problem is they've combined that with some unblockable attacks, which they do telegraph well enough. Like your enemy will flash red before he's going to do something that you can't block, and so you should have enough time to get out of the way in theory. I found that's not the case a lot of times. And then I also got to fight
Maybe you just need to get good.
I also got to fight the second sister in about halfway through the game. And she does this thing, so she has several of these unblockable attacks. You start to get used to those, and then all of a sudden she'll do this like windmill thing, which doesn't telegraph like an unblockable, but will always drain your entire stamina bar, and you don't have a chance to get away from it. So I was a little bit upset with that. It felt like it wasn't play tested as much as maybe it should have been. And I think that's a lot of the case. There have been several theories that it's been kind of pushed out to kind of help hype for Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I'm
Wait, there's no way EA
agree.
and or Disney would do that. Sacrifice quality of a product to hype their next product? No.
Yep. The other complaint I have is actually a little bit story-based, which normally I'm not going into games requiring a story. I mean, you do it at this sort of game, you do want more of one. But this
if there is a story, I expect competence in that story. Period.
Yes. I've been reading a lot of different opinions.
On that one, Chris.
Yeah. I've been reading a lot of different opinions on what people think of the story. A lot of people really like the interaction between the crew, other people not so much. I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I mean, it's fine. It's there. It's adequate enough, but
Kind of tauntaun temperature on that.
Yep.
basically. The one thing that really has kind of surprised me, though, is that they're a little bit inconsistent with the information they're giving you. Stephen was actually on and watching. I think it was after you had left that night when we were streaming. But you end up getting captured, and you have to fight your way out of this like pirate asteroid base thing. And they were going to make you fight in this tournament thing, so you had to do several of these little like animal fights, like in an arena style thing. And then your ship's crew comes in and saves you, and you take off, and you're having a conversation with the pilot afterwards, and he's like, "Yeah, let's see, what was it? Somehow the pilot had gotten you in that trouble, but it hadn't. You had no indication that was what had happened. All you knew is that you just all of a sudden got captured. But then both the characters somehow know this information that it was something the pilot did that made the people come after you, and then they're just like, yeah, sorry about that, and you just kind of move on, Stephen was saying that there's apparently a log somewhere that you pick up that actually kind of gives you that information, the precursor information. And it sounded like it was some sort of he owed these people money, they came to collect, sort of thing. But it was just
you can't have pick-upables giving you plot crucial information. That's not.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's things like that I think they just didn't really have time. They didn't seem to really have combed through everything and made sure everything made sense. There may have been things that got cut that explain that.
Or at least a pick-upable that is not super obvious. Yeah. Because I'm thinking about like Diablo 2 or something like that. Like. That would have pick-upables that were plot crucial, but it was super, super, super obvious, like when the monster would drop that loot, that it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and those things would usually accompany like an audio log, so it would give you the
I'm
information,
okay with them having pick-upables give plot crucial information, so long as it's kind of like, hey, you really don't want to miss this.
It is highly unlikely
here,
you will not pick this up.
Yeah, but if it's like tucked away somewhere in a corner, of a room that's easily looked over or something like that.
Well, there's a lot of games with just items that you can pick up that'll flesh out story or just add background. Like, I thought the Shadow of Mordor games did really well at that. They had a lot of neat little things where I was like, oh, that's a neat idea. That's I like how they did that. But that sounds, that's troublesome.
Yeah, and that is my theory, and I am agreeing with those people that say it may have been a little rushed. They just didn't have time to really make sure it was all the T's were crossed and I's dotted across the whole thing. But that all being said, my hype level for it is the same as it is for the Mandalorian. I am really enjoying the game, and once you kind of get the hang of those shortcomings, like in combat, it tends to go a lot quicker.
Yeah.
One last thing that isn't really a problem, but it is a little bit weird to get used to, is that the game has a very particular way it wants you to fight things. Like, it wants you to be a little bit more reliant on force powers when a lot of people are just naturally more strict saber combat. And so for those of us that have had to adjust to that and want to have to use more force powers, it's been a little bit of a learning curve. But because like the second sister fight, I did it probably a dozen times and was getting apparently almost to the point that I needed to get to, because you only actually take her halfway down her health bar. And I was getting almost there, but having a really hard time going through all my stim packs and all of that. But then the last time when I really finally started hitting those force powers a lot heavier, I didn't use any stim packs. She didn't take me through a half a life bar. And it was interesting just how massively different it was. But
so I have not played the game. I've only seen Ross play it for 3 hours or whatever it was, 2 hours.
It was 3 hours.
And it kind of confirmed what I wanted to do anyway, which is what I did with Battlefront 2, which is go to YouTube and watch all the cutscenes. Then I'll know the story and won't have to play the game.
Or not, because they don't give you everything in the cutscenes as far as story.
I'll get enough.
Yeah.
But basically, looking at that game, I'm like, okay, so this is like any of the Zelda games, but in Star Wars. Lots and lots of puzzles, sprinkled around with some combat. That's not the kind of game I enjoy, so I probably will not be playing Fallen Order. Although, while watching you, Ross, it was pretty funny. There was that big creature that you had to fight that looked like one of the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
The
Bog something.
Yeah.
I don't remember
anyway,
what they were
but it
called.
looks exactly like one of the dragons. The little fat stubby dragon. It looks like that.
The
only
big chin
size.
and the little eyes that are right in the middle of its head.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looks like that, only bigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was pretty funny.
Longer.
Oh, and that was a really fun stream to do, by the way. We told an embarrassing story.
We told a couple of them,
We did a little AMA, an impromptu AMA.
We did.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I think we should do that for an episode. Collect some questions and then do it.
That's a good idea.
But it was pretty fun.
Oh,
you guys missed out if you weren't there.
I've also enjoyed the copious use of the Star Wars Basic throughout the game, which I can read.
Oh, yeah.
So, my favorite...
That was a nice touch to make it feel a little more lived in.
You were on this landing pad, and there's a bunch of cargo boxes around, and there was Nerf fur labels on the boxes. That was fun. There were... And then actually, in the tutorial level, it was trying to show you what things you can climb on and how to kind of climb and traverse and things like that. And it would put these signs that were just in basic on them, but if you can read it, you can read that they say don't climb. And so it was blocking out the areas that you shouldn't climb on with these don't climb signs, which I thought was clever.
That's funny.
And interesting. But
yep, we'll see. I'll probably download a trial of it or something and see if I like the gameplay enough to pull me through what I do not expect through a story that I do not expect to be engaged by at all.
Yeah.
And so,
well, yeah, it's been kind of controversial, just even among our limited fan base of people picking sides. Some say that it's really good, some say that it's really disappointing.
I mean, as far as reviews go, I've seen basically all good reviews. I don't think anyone had any major problems. Just the stuff that I've been mentioning.
Even Yahtzee didn't give it a bad review,
which
I
was
was
surprising.
staggered by.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But anyway,
that's probably the best review he's ever given a Star Wars game since he started doing this. That might very well be.
I think I need to go back and listen to some. Well, actually, but since he started, they've only had the really terrible ones.
He started right at the tail end of LucasArts closing, so he didn't get a lot of any of the good stuff.
Yeah.
Even so,
I just want them to give me a new Empire at War. Give me a good Star Wars strategy game.
Well, they need to go back and revisit all the genres that they were doing.
Yeah.
But at least
There's a
you can give them
market
to good
for it.
studios.
Like, it doesn't all have to be
Yeah.
first-person shooter games, you know?
Well, and I think this was their attempt to kind of whet your palate for a Jedi Knight style game. I mean, it's definitely not even really a spiritual successor for Jedi Knight, even though there's some, because you have different saber styles and you have a branching upgrade tree for force powers, you know. So I mean, some of those ideas are there, but it's not the same.
The plot, I'm
sort of
assuming, is
implementation.
linear, is fully just.
Yes, you are free to go back to old planets and everything. Each level will have a certain objective that you go to a certain spot on the map and you'll jump around to planets and go back and forth between them.
Right.
And so you're always on these same maps per planet, and you can go and explore more than what the story would have you do. But yes, if you go to a planet, there is one objective that you go through to do.
Yeah.
And then you go back and go to a different planet. But
Fair.
So it's less linear than what the Jedi Knights were, but not RPG open world.
Well,
So-
and it's not linear in that it's not like a single set level and you finish that level and you don't go back. But story wise, it is still like there's no player choice influencing where the story
Correct.
goes. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Then I'm curious, what in the cutscenes, what of the story I'm going to miss if I
Well,
watch
but
all the
it's
cutscenes?
like I was talking about, where it's things that they just forgot to put in, because like the conversation between you and the pilot is a cutscene, but the information leading up as to why you had been captured is nowhere to be found. So I don't know if there'll be other things like that. Probably not. I mean, that's just kind of a subplot.
Yeah.
But so we'll see.
Very good.
Anyway, I'm enjoying the game. We'll continue to stream it as I have time. I was trying to do it on Saturdays, but I'm so far behind what the rest of the world is. I'm having a hard time staying away from spoilers.
Yeah.
So I am going to try and stream whenever I'm playing it. But
It's also December, so Saturdays are who knows.
going to be tougher. So, but I may not be playing it at normal hours that everyone can watch. Maybe I'll even do like a 4 a.m. stream. That'll be fun. No, I won't do that.
Get those European listeners engaged.
Yeah, for real. Anyway, yeah. What's next on our list of things to talk about?
The Mando.
Yeah,
Mandalorian.
episodes 3 and 4.
Yes. All right, Chris. I mean, this is going to be your section, so just give it to us.
I watched episode 3 and I was kind of like, I had talked before about how basically I've got a lot of little problems and a lot of little pluses, and it's all right. And episode 3 basically ratcheted all the problems up, but didn't really improve any of the strengths for me. And then you added to that I was sitting there like, well, this is easily, story-wise, this is easily the most flawed, messy, just badly done episode. And then I get online and everyone's sitting here going, oh, this is so amazing, it's so great, this is the best episode yet. And that retroactively made me dislike it more, as I am wont to do, because it's just sitting there like, but it was bad. I mean, and it's mainly, it's just this disregard for, like, I talked with you. I ran into Ross at the library and I talked a bit about how, like, I feel like these first 3 episodes are basically just your standard, like, 2-part series premiere.
That's honestly
with some padding
feels
in
like
the
it
middle.
should have been.
Yeah.
Is like this is a 2-part premiere. This is a 2-hour-long series premiere.
Yeah.
That's so. If you think about the first 3 episodes as one episode, at least in my mind, like that's how I'm.
Well, see,
making this
that
work.
is what I feel like they were going for. But then they had the second episode, which is basically superfluous to that.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of padding. The only important thing there, at least from what we've seen so far, is that, hey, Baby Yoda can use the Force, which is about as surprising as a Star Wars film has a lightsaber in it. and then it was just like, okay, well, it wasn't horribly done, like I said in our last episode, but then the third one, I watched it and I was like, or maybe that second episode of padding was there to try and make everyone forget all the plot points they introduced in the first one that they're now just straight up ignoring. Because, like, I was sitting there watching it and I'm just like, he goes to talk to Carl Weathers and he's just like, how many of these bounties did you hand out? And he's just like, oh, I handed them out to everyone. And I was like, whoa, hold up, okay. See, I got to the end of the first episode and I went, and there was another bounty hunter who had a bounty that explicitly stated, I'm supposed to kill this thing. And I went, oh, so there's competing bounties. Someone else has put a bounty out on this Baby Yoda that specifies that they want it dead, whereas Werner Herzog is saying, well, we'd like it alive, but dead is better than nothing. And then And then in the second episode, it's like, all right, reinforcing that with a bunch of Trandoshans attack, and they go straight for the kill. They're not trying to capture this baby despite having superior numbers and also working in numbers, so one would think that they would want the higher payoff. So apparently there is no higher payoff for them, just like there wasn't with Iggy. They just want it dead. And then we get into the next episode, and it's like, oh, no, that was from the client. Like, that was from the same people handed out that exact same bounty, and just specified for some reason in this one that they just wanted him dead. Why? Because we wanted plot conflict, artificial conflict, and then too, I was just like, so wait, at what point did you start handing that bounty out, Carl Weathers? Because several of these people caught up to the Mandalorian. Iggy beat him there technically, and so I'm like, so I'm basically picturing this as Carl Weathers is sitting there like, handing this out like candy. Here, everybody, have a great bounty. It pays really well. Go kill this thing. Mando shows up and he's like, oh wait, you're a protagonist. I can't tell you about this. Nope, can't tell you. Oh well, since you asked, I'll be all secretive about it. And I gotta send you to talk to them specifically. And I'm just like, was there like a conga line of people outside that Imperial bunker that he just missed somehow? It's like, no, it's like, it makes absolutely no sense that Carl Weathers was the one handing that out to just everyone. It's only there so that they can artificially be like, oh, you know, now we can just reactivate the bounty and everybody has it, which they could have just done by being, hey, this dude just broke guild rules, take him out, and bam, done. Like, you don't even have to ignore that plot point.
Yeah.
But it retroactively made the first episode more stupid for me. Where I was like, okay, you had this extremely cliche but well done setup of, well, I've got a bounty, but it's, well, you probably don't want it. It's kind of off the bookish. It's just like, oh, is it for a mysterious client that I obviously won't be able to trust, but I'm going to take it because they're offering an absurd amount of money for what should be a simple job, but then it's going to create complications, and I'm going to have some moral discomfort about performing this job, but the money's going to get to me, but then I'm going to have an attack of conscience and go back and undo it? Is that what? Yep, that is it. Of course it was. and it's like, okay, fine. But then in the third episode, it's like, nah, just kidding. There was no reason for any of that. We're just hoping you weren't paying enough attention to notice that we're not being consistent in any way, shape, or form. And I was just like, what is happening here?
So, while I am enjoying The Mandalorian, I'm still waiting for some sign of a story to show up. Because really, there hasn't been one.
Well, and my thought, especially with this last episode, is that the story is supposed to be he's going to protect his kid.
But again, like, there's not really much to go on. Like, when you're doing a series, it's okay to have containment within an episode, but there, ideally at least anyway, I think we've been groomed for this now, there should be some overarching story.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have any problem with the approach they're taking if this was like a 24-episode season. Then I'd be like, sure, just give me a sequence of bottle episodes where it's just its own contained thing.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you compare it to Avatar: The Last Airbender, that's basically the format they took at the beginning, where it's like, here's a two-parter that establishes the series, here's a second one that gives you some more information, and then a third, fourth, fifth that are all kind of a little bit self-contained. Like, they are tying together better than this is doing.
But we only have 10 episodes.
Exactly.
And so,
it's 8.
Oh,
we have 8 episodes.
Yeah.
We're already halfway through the season.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh.
And so I'm going, we're halfway through the season, and we're still waiting for a story to show up.
Yeah.
Because all we've actually seen is him take a bounty and complete said bounty, and get paid for said bounty, and then break the rules and run away.
Yeah.
That's all that's happened, and there isn't a huge reason for any of it to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real story happening yet, and that's disappointing to me. And with this fourth episode, it was beautiful, like all the other episodes have been. It looks really good. But almost immediately, and somebody mentioned this on Twitter, I was like, oh, this is the Clone Wars remake, or this is the Mandalorian's remake of the Clone Wars' remake of Seven Samurai.
Yeah. Very much so, like heavily so.
Like, almost like scene for scene.
Yes.
Including the two farmers at the beginning who go out and hire the samurai.
Yep.
You know, like, and they're kind of the comic relief.
The training with
fools,
spears scene.
You know?
There's so much.
Yeah, the
of
training
just...
with spears. I was like, Dave Filoni already shot this in the Clone Wars, and it was well done then for the medium that it was portrayed in, and I enjoyed it then. And well, we talked about this, I think, already in an earlier episode. I think we talked about this, but it's like, so that's all well and fine, and I appreciate the tributes to Star Wars' heritage in Kurosawa films.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm going, oh, well, I already know how this episode is going
but
to end.
I already know how this goes. I have seen this not just repeatedly in pop culture in general. I have seen this in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so
And I was just like, holy crap, even with pirates who have a superior vehicle to what the farmers have. Yeah. That's literally Hondo with his pirate tank, you know?
Case,
yeah, space orcs here, exactly.
Yeah, they really super were orcs.
But I was like, wow, so we're just... And I honestly, I was paying attention at the end. I'm like, okay, show me that say directed by Dave Filoni, because this feels like Dave Filoni's Clone War episode. Oh, Bryce Dallas Howard. Okay, well, she must have watched that episode of Clone Wars then. Because it was... I mean, it's a shot-for-shot remake of Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, which is a great story. It is a really wonderful story, but it felt almost lazy, especially because, as like Chris said, we've already done this in Star Wars. We've already done this.
Yeah. See, and watching the fourth episode actually did improve my spirits from after the third episode, because again, it's like, yes, it was very much a rehash. It was all very familiar, but at least it was mostly competently done. Like, the story was consistently told. It helps that it was a self-contained episode and not one that's referring back to many plot points. And that's the thing, is most of the things I had problems with in the fourth episode were things that were referring back to earlier things that were I was just like, I don't know if I've ever watched a show that expects me to forget its own plot points faster. Like, I'm a little appalled by it. The third episode, the other big frustration for me was the Mandalorian showing up at the end. I was like, oh yeah, here's your Riders of Rohan moment, your cavalry coming in, except that there's no emotional weight to it, because we haven't set anything up here. We've had one scene of him visiting them, getting some armor, another scene of him visiting them, almost stabbing some other dude, and when that dude almost stabs him, and then they stop because this is the way, whatever that means. And then they just show up later, and it's like, hey, I know last time we saw each other, I was literally trying to stab your neck, but
I got your back
now.
buddy.
But I don't know how we found out we're supposed to be here. Not know what was going on there.
I have been wondering about that.
It's the bro code of, if anyone's going to kill that mother effer, it's going to be me.
Ugh, so. I hate that trope. I'm so sick of that trope. But even then, it's like, if we had established that, if we'd actually had a line of dialogue saying just like, if anyone's going to kill you, it's going to be me, I would have been like, well, that's cliche, par for the course for this show. But at least it's there.
Yeah.
And that's, I loved in Yahtzee's Fallen Order review, he had a line where he was talking about, like, yeah, this is the usual Star Wars hero's journey, like, we're just tracing the hero's journey, only instead of, walking the hero's journey here, we're just kind of teleporting to significant moments on the hero's journey. Instead of actually taking the journey. So it's just like, oh, hey, we're here now. It's like, oh, wait, this is supposed to be the low point, so you have to be sad now. You're sad.
Yeah.
Okay, now jump to here. And now jump to here. And that's what, and I'm like, I listened to that and I was like, see, that's my problem with The Mandalorian. That's my problem with Rogue One, is that's basically what they're doing, is they're just jumping and expecting, oh yeah, you know how this goes, so the wait will be there. And for a lot of people, it does work. For a lot of people are sitting there just like, oh yeah, that emotional weight. And I'm like, no, you just know what was supposed to happen, but they didn't actually do it. Mm-hmm. There was no emotional heft to The Mandalorian showing up. And most of the people talking about it online that I've seen that are talking about that moment aren't talking about like, oh yeah, found family and being there for each other, and there's no emotion to it. It's just, whoa, there's so many Mandalorians, wasn't that cool? I'm just like, yeah, I'm not sure why everybody but him gets a jetpack, but okay.
Yeah, for reals.
Yeah.
There were like 2 Mandalorians besides him that didn't have a jetpack. Everybody else did.
And then there were moments like he arrives in town and has Baby Yoda floating next to him in the open bassinet, and I'm like, you've been attacked multiple times by bounty hunters after this kid. Like, one sniper and that kid's done for. What are you doing?
Almost happened again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I also had a moment during the final battle where I was like, so he can disintegrate people and everything they are wearing, but not the cover they're hiding behind. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if it has to be like an organic thing or something.
Well, except he's disintegrating their clothing and their metal.
No,
even
a lot of their
the metal
clothing,
bits of what they're holding, though, everything's gone.
A lot of clothing remains.
Okay, maybe I can totally see that. I might not have seen a lot.
Yeah.
I might have just missed
That
it. I've only watched
the
each of
only
these ones,
explanation I can think of is that maybe it's got to be
Yeah.
like living organic material, because otherwise, like a Jawa's like cotton robe would disintegrate first and not them or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's got problems. It looks really pretty. I hope that they can tie it together. They've got 4 episodes to give us something resembling a story.
In the 4th one, I had a couple moments of similar things where I was just like, he's like, okay, we're going to go into hiding, and I was sitting there like, but except that there's an entire guild of, well, at least what's left of a guild of bounty hunters that all have inexplicably accurate tracking devices that lead straight to this kid. Like, lying low is not an effective option right now. And except it somehow was for a couple weeks so that we could have some plot, and then it wasn't. And when he's like, decided at the end, he's like, well, I'm going to leave him here. I was like, but he's the one, like, they don't have a tracker on you, pal. They're not going to chase after you because you've left him here. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and that's the thing where I was just like, and the show remembered that that's a plot point, but it seemed to have expected me to have forgotten that was a plot point. Whereas, but where I had spent the entire episode going, well, obviously this can't work because you've already shown me how this works.
Right.
He had his fight with Gina Carano where I was like, well, good to know that Beskar armor, for all that it's good against blaster, is still vulnerable to being punched. Which just, I was just watching that and I was just like, why isn't he, like, he keeps punching her. Why? He doesn't have gauntlets on. Why doesn't he just whack her with his bracers? He got in several good blows to her face, but I'm like, if you used your bracer, she would have been down.
Well, and that was my comment to Carrie as we were watching it, is he loves that flamethrower. And does not use it effectively.
And it never gets used effectively.
Oh, because like he's on the ground stabbing at the thing. It's like it doesn't work right. And then it finally shoots off, and then he turns around towards her. And it's like, well, come on.
He did use it effectively in episode 3 when he was fighting a ton of people. But that's about it.
Yeah.
He used it against the stormtroopers is where he used it there, and that worked well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a... And see, and that one's one that I'm like, that would be a minor frustration for me. It's just like, okay, whatever. Stormtroopers have always been vulnerable to being hit with sticks or being punched, whatever. I started watching Rebels, and I'm just like, wow, we just punch out stormtroopers left and right. Like, that armor is useless. Like, this is hilarious. Sure, whatever. That's the sort of thing that I'm like, Star Wars has always done that. I can gloss over that. It's just one that I laughed at.
It does good against energy, but it's not padded.
Yeah.
You're just a straight bucket on your head.
Yep.
Oh, and then you had the moment where he's talking to the lady, and she's like, when did you take that off last? And he's just like, I haven't taken that off in front of someone since I was their age. And she's like, oh, well, here's your food. And he's like, cool, I'm going to go stand at the window in front of the entire town and take off my helmet.
Yeah. I thought about that. I was like, wait
it's a
minute.
great shot. Visually, it's very engaging. It's wonderful. But I was sitting there like, face palm. Like, that is not unseeing. Like, what... does half the galaxy know this guy's face and he just thinks they don't?
Because he's like, Kronk, no one can see my face. I'm inside. Yeah, but you're in the window. Yeah, but I'm inside. No one can see me if I'm inside. There's not even a window pane in here. No, you don't get it. I'm inside.
I'll only be seen if anyone looks this way. There's no chance that any of the 20-odd people visible from right here are ever going to glance in this direction.
Yeah. Things we liked, though.
Well, and I also had a moment, too, with, like, we had in our news thing, had a bit about Mandalorian turns the ATST into a terrifying killing machine or whatever.
Yeah.
No.
What?
No, not at all. I spent that entire episode going... They're just like, we can't take out an ATST, and I was like, oh gee, unless maybe you had some, I don't know, logs.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you're surrounded by forest. Like, I'm sorry, no, you cannot retroactively convince me that these things are dangerous killing machines when I've watched Ewoks topple them with logs left and right, and we're in a forest.
And that was my thinking. I'm like, okay, ATST versus unarmored you on the ground in the open. Yeah, that fight's not going to go well. That is a terrifying... And for untrained civilian villagers, backwater villagers, I can see that an ATST presents a challenge, that you're not going to win against that. But I'm like, okay, but you're a rebel commando, or an ex-rebel commando, Cara Dune.
We've got a rebel commando.
Stories weren't shared about the Endor assault amongst you. Yeah. Like, if you weren't... so you're not there. You didn't see it firsthand. All right, fine. Galaxy's a big place. Not every soldier was on Endor.
She probably should have been, though.
She probably... Exactly. She specifically says, like, we're part of that, essentially, Twilight Company. And I'm like, they were at Endor, if I'm not mistaken, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, I think they were.
Well,
anyway,
she
but
talks
it's like,
about leaving they became peacekeepers after the war, so she was definitely active during the war.
And so it's
And
like,
basically, she didn't want to be a peacekeeper. She wanted to cause trouble.
Well, this is what I'm saying is there's a high likelihood that she was at Endor personally, but even if she wasn't at Endor personally to see how they took down ATSTs, soldiers didn't tell stories.
Right.
This didn't become a part of, like, Alliance military doctrine. This is how you defeat an ATST
just
with
none of them are
primitive
smart
equipment.
enough to go, hey, an extremely top-heavy, poorly balanced thing could be toppled very easily.
Yeah.
Like,
and so I'm going, okay, you're clearly a person who probably should have seen Return of the Jedi, Gina Carano. Really? You don't have any ideas besides let's dig a ditch and put up some wooden fences that it can easily walk through and or over and hope that works out?
which,
really?
well, that I can buy as, like, we're deliberately putting flimsy defenses there so it will walk forward to try and do just that. I can, I can just
But your best defense is to build a big pit for it. I was like, that you've got a whole forest worth of options in front of you and between you and
none of which will get it within range. Like, if you just attack it in the forest, it doesn't have a chance to get to the village and start shooting people, and less likelihood that it's going to see the trap you've laid in the dark.
I was just
going
to say that in the forest, it's a way better chance of an ambush.
I'm like, come on, you've got
like...
a former rebel shock trooper and the best bounty hunter on the block. I mean, they should be able to come up with something.
Yeah, that was disappointing strategically for me, or tactically, because I was just like, all of those things we said, it makes no sense. But I will say this, the ATST looked really cool.
Yes.
And I like the red light that was in there. That, I mean, it makes it look like a monster out of Legends kind of a thing when you're seeing it walk. So,
and as far as, like, self-contained storytelling, like I said, most of my problems with this were as far as it related to plot points that were introduced in other episodes and now are just being glossed over. But as far as just telling its own mini Seven Samurai, yeah, sure, not bad done, and there's a lot of little things that I did like in these episodes, but the fourth one I definitely enjoyed more than the third one.
I would have to agree with that. I think I do hope that we get to see more of inexplicably good with a Relby villager lady.
Yeah, I don't think we will. But
really, you think that's it? That she was a one and done character?
I think so.
Interesting.
I could see, like, the fact that they did leave that not even asked, like, not only unanswered but unasked. How did she get this good with a gun? I could see that returning, but probably not this season. That might be something they dig up for second season or something.
And I'm surprised at the things I'm surprised at things that do seem to be one-offs. You have both Iggy and Gina Carano.
Yeah.
In all the marketing material.
Yeah.
You see Iggy for all of 5 minutes, maybe. Probably not even that long. Gina you see for the full episode, but they very much at the end of the episode go their separate ways.
Yeah.
We have not yet seen who was billed as the major villain in Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
See, with Gina Carano, I don't doubt that we'll see her again. Mainly because it was even more so than with the lady that he was making moon eyes at from behind his helmet. Because she's in the full episode for one, but also because they set up, like, she's got bounties on her. He never asks what they are. We don't know what they are, but I feel like that's something they're going to bring up later. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure she'll come back. Yeah,
I'm sure she will too. But, like, Iggy, I'm surprised we haven't seen him again yet with how much they had marketed him.
Yeah.
But
another thing tactically that I was like, they should have really ambushed these dog pirates. Apparently hiding under that basket in the water and staying still is a sufficient disguise for their spot checks for your pirates. Fetch baskets in the water, everybody's got a blaster, they run into your city, you shoot them in the back.
That could have been the next tactic, I don't know, but that also requires you to be a good enough shot to be confident that you won't be leaving yourself exposed once after you've popped out.
Sure.
It also didn't seem like they had blasters.
They had some, like the Mando handed out a ton. But
didn't he bring those along though?
Yeah, but
that's
for the later battle.
Yeah, for the later battle.
But that's the thing is, I feel like most of the people there aren't going to be good enough shots that we can be confident in. I'm going to hide behind enemy lines and then pop out once they pass me and feel confident that I'm going to survive that engagement.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. There were just
I feel like
I think better
it's
options.
the sort of thing that I would have liked to see used again. It's like when I watched James Cameron's Avatar. Like, you get to the final battle, and I'm sitting there like, oh, okay, they've got a couple days to plan this and everything. I'm probably going to see a bunch of stuff pulled out and used again. Like, we're going to guide them into some of the dangerous monsters on the planet because we've seen so many of those. We're going to, we used that pitchy tar stuff to light a torch. We're going to guide people into that and light them on fire. We're gonna, like, there's so many things we've shown about this planet.
Why do that when a full frontal assault
exactly
with no planning?
And that's like, so there's so many things on the planet that I was like, oh, I see, you set up that this exists so that you can use it later, and that'll be a nice callback in the final battle and show them being clever and everything. And that's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, I wouldn't have minded seeing that used again. That could have been helpful, especially in the dark. Would be a lot harder to spot them there in the first place. But
yep.
Yeah. One thing I do really like, though, is possibly my favorite thing about the show so far, is that, like, for all that we don't know a lot about Pedro Pascal's character so far, that he is not your standard, like, grim, silent, lone gunslinger sort of character, in that, like, usually I keep getting scenes, like, and it was more this way in the first episode, but it's less so in second, third, and fourth. You keep getting these scenes where you expect him to be the one being all standoffish and like, no, I don't want anyone around. And instead, he's just constantly like, hey, you want to join me? Or like, hey, yeah. Like, you get people asking him questions where the standard grim, silent response would just be like, don't ask questions, or I'm not going to talk, or I'm just going to ignore you. And instead, he's just like, sure, here's an answer. Like, I got no problem with people asking questions about me. He's not really that closed of a book. He's perfectly happy to talk to people. He's perfectly answered. Like, when she asked him the question about how long has it been since you took that off, that was one of those situations where I expected him to kind of be like, go away. But yeah, so that was one where I kind of half expected him to be all standoffish and like, I don't want to get to know people. And instead he's just like, sure, I'll answer your questions. I'm cool.
My thought on that is maybe because he's an orphan, he's like desperate for companionship.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And I like that about him. Like, watching the fourth episode, I was just like, see, now this, like, I was thinking of my argument with Carrie about whether or not Jyn Erso had abandonment disorder, where I'm just like, no, even if, like, I definitely can concede that that's what they were going for, but they weren't consistent about her behavior on that point. Whereas this one, I'm just like, oh yeah, this dude's straight up just lonely. He wants to have people around, and I love that about him. I love that he's a like, it's not like he's, oh, I'm pretending that I'm not a good guy, but secretly I am. He's just kind of like, no, I'm a good guy. Like, yeah. I mean, I have to do hard stuff occasionally, but like, that doesn't mean I'm not a good guy. Perfectly happy to talk to kids and take care of babies and, flirt with women. and not in a superficial, like, oh yeah, I'm going to trip her into bed way, but in a genuine, like, emotional connection way. I'm like, hey, he's a mature loner. I like it. And every time, I guess when he invited Nick Nolte to come along, I was like, hey, I like that. And then when he's like, I mean, it was a little like, I was glad that they didn't hit the emotional point of like, yeah, Mandalorians, because it's like, to go from that to the very next episode of, maybe I will abandon the Mandalorians, would have been a little much for me, but yeah, I like his character, what little we've gotten of it so far. I like that he has an actual emotional range and displays it and is not shy about that. And so I'm just hoping that they'll pick it up with a bit more story here towards the last half.
I sure hope so.
Pull a crazy Ivan on us and just do a 180 and blow us away.
Yep, that's right. Good reference.
Thank you.
Ross doesn't get it.
Yeah, it's
of course he gets it.
Oh, I was thinking Red October, but
no, that was Firefly.
Who didn't get it now?
Well done, Russ. Well done.
Crazy Ivan's a thing in Red October.
It is.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what it is in Red October, but at least in Firefly, that's the thing where they turned around 180 degrees to do a thing.
Yeah.
And then the
backburn. Is that what it is in October?
And then the backburn exploded in the atmosphere and blew the...
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, hey, that's perfect. That's perfect. Like, spin it around and blow us away. Perfect.
Alrighty. Next, talking about Community. TV show Community. Super dang funny. Go watch it if you haven't seen it, because it's well worth your time. But the season finale for season 2 was a 2-parter paintball war episode. Mm-hmm. The season 1 finale was also...
No, it wasn't the finale.
It wasn't the finale,
but they had
it was in there.
So in season 1, so this all takes place on a community college. In season 1, briefly, they had a community, like, picnic day where it was supposed to end with a paintball war. and the main character left and was like, I'm going to take a nap in my car. I don't care about that. He wakes up a couple hours later, and the entire
a zombie
college
apocalypse
campus
kind of
is
thing.
a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And he's just like, what is going on? And everyone's warring, doing paintball. And it turns out that the reward for the winning the paintball match was absurdly great. And so everyone has just gone feral over fighting for this.
Yeah.
And it was absurd to the point that it was just like, I cannot believe they are doing this and getting away with this. Like, this is
so
awesome.
funny.
And so
great.
in the second season, for the finale, they revisited that with another paintball one that got out of hand. And it was not quite as audacious as the first time around, but it was still pretty solid.
Oh, I like it better.
I like it. I like a lot of the things they chose to do, but the whole holy crap, they're actually going this far.
Yeah.
That was no longer. It's kind of like Lego Movie 2 versus Lego Movie 1, where Lego Movie 1 is, whoa, wait, this is literally a kid playing with Legos, is such a reveal.
Novel idea,
Whereas Lego Movie 2 is a lot more predictable, just because I know from the start this is a brother and sister playing with Legos, and it's pretty easy to see where it's going from there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt with this one, where it's just like the first one carried me along partly just because I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And then the second one I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. That's cool. I've wanted another one of these.
So the first part of the 2-part season finale in season 2 is a Western.
Yes.
Classic spaghetti Western, good, bad, the ugly kind of a thing.
A fistful of paintballs.
Yeah, A Fistful of Dollars is the movie it's parodying.
And very well done.
And very well done. Super funny. But the second part, as Abed, one of the characters, says, it looks like we've transitioned from a Western to a more of a sci-fi feel.
And everyone groans, and Abed said, I know, I'm disappointed it took so long too.
Yeah, exactly. And they switched to a Star Wars motif, which is why we're talking about it on this show.
Yes.
It's really funny. They have some great lines, like, so Abed starts like saying all of these Han Solo-esque lines immediately.
Trying to rally the troops together, and he's just like, I don't care. I'm
not in it for your revolution.
I'm not in this for your reference. It's like, but this was your idea. It's like, yeah, I know, but I want to seize the Han Solo role
before
Jeff slouches into it by default. I love it. That is one of my favorite lines ever.
It is one of my favorite lines ever. It is so perfectly delivered and describes Jeff's character perfectly.
Yes.
Before Jeff slouches into it by default. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So then they go through the episode where they realize that the Western part is sort of every man for themselves.
Yes.
And at the end of the first end of the Western episode. End of the Western episode, beginning of the sci-fi episode, it's revealed that the dean of the rival community college is the one setting this whole thing up.
Is the one under the mask.
Yeah,
is the Darth Vader.
Yeah, is the Darth Vader character, the one sponsoring the paintball war. Yeah.
And he has brought in a whole bunch of his own students in full, like, white paintball armor.
Black and white armor. Yep. Paintball armor. To go in and clean up the remaining few Greendale students.
So that he doesn't have to pay out the prize money.
Yeah, of $100,000 cash. Oh, just ridiculous. This show is so over the top silly. It's wonderful. And so they go through and they're fighting, and there's the whole, like, they're just overtly making references to Star Wars, that like this rebel alliance that we've made and things like that. They've got the bad guys have a super weapon. They've got a minigun in an ice cream truck, in an ice cream van that can just, spit out, 1,600 rounds a minute or whatever, just dealing death to anybody that comes close. So it's kind of like the Death Star that they've got to destroy. It's very funny.
It is. It's well done. It's got one particular scene is Abed and Annie in the storage closet getting the paint, which is just straight up Han and Leia in the Millennium Falcon in Empire Strikes Back, where he's massaging her hand after she heard it.
And she's like, don't. And he's like, I can't remember exactly the dialogue, but she's like, are you gonna be Han, after this is all over?
Later, about that.
And he's like, no, the moment's like, it's only for the moment, And she's like, oh, okay. And then like he kisses her right at the climax of the battle. They put paint in the fire system, like this. Fire sprinklers. Yeah. And so it coats all the bad guys and themselves. They make this heroic, noble sacrifice to get almost all of of the stormtroopers covered in paint, so they're out of the competition, and they're kissing while all the paint's spraying around them like explosions or something. You know, it's totally like every like hero trope, like with a girl right
It is
there.
delightful. Actually, one of the things I like most about it is that it's its own thing. Like, it's not. It is a Star Wars episode very much, but it's not straight up Star Wars
Correct.
parody. Like, it's not a Star Wars episode in the vein of Family Guy's episode, or Phineas and Ferb did their Star Wars episode, where it's like, this is the plot of Star Wars. We're just, it's not Spaceballs, basically. It's just, we're taking a lot of motifs and a lot of, we're imitating Star Wars music, and we're imitating similar moments, not even from Star Wars, just in this vein of storytelling, and we're all applying them here to our own plot that is similar. And I like that. I like that they did their own thing. I feel like the episode holds up a lot better because of that, instead of it just being a straight up, this is Star Wars. But
I don't know. I think there were a lot of Star Wars references in it, but I think it could have been more.
yeah, they could have done. Well, I like that they were more restrained, personally. But.
Exactly. Otherwise, it would have been like a direct parody of one particular Star Wars movie. I like the fact that they were like, we're basically going to make our own Star Wars movie, relying on every single trope in Star Wars to make this episode.
It's more of a Galaxy Quest than a Spaceballs, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I pulled those out the other night to get ready
and
for
the
this
opening.
episode.
The opening is so great because there's this smoky doorway, and the stormtroopers start filing in, and there's Pistol Patty, the ice cream cone, walks through like Darth Vader. It's such a perfect, like, ironic anticlimax, because it's like it's all like evil and smoky and whatever, and you're like, oh, and then it's an anthropomorphized ice cream cone with a stupid smile on its face that walks through the door, and then they take the helmet off, and there's the dean, the skinny little black dean in there of the rival college. It's so perfect as far as parody goes. It's just absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm. It starts with an opening crawl. Forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
it does.
True.
It starts with one paragraph that ends with the lines. It's like, well, let's not draw this out, which I appreciated.
And the writing is so good. I forgot about this. So, Troy describing Pistol Patty and her stormtroopers. They're an unstoppable juggle-knob. And then Abed, Juggernaut. Juggernaut, which means if we're going to fight them, we need to form a school-wide alliance of rebels.
Yes.
You know, like... and then there's Abed's line. It seems we've left the Western motif and are entering a Star Wars scenario. I wish it happened sooner too.
Yep.
Oh man,
It's a good episode. It's a good show. I like that show. My only problem with that episode really is like overall community narrative. Like, it ends with Pierce being all like, "Oh well, you guys have not treated me well, so I'm gonna leave," and it's just like, yeah. I think that's one of those TV shows hoping that I have forgotten all the plot points that came before this. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Pierce has been another dick, and he deserves to be left behind. But
and so Annie, who's, she's not taken seriously a lot in the show. She's treated like a little kid because she's one of the youngest in the group, and a girl. So there's a lot of that, like, what am I like talking down to her? I can't think of a more concise
mansplaining.
Way. Well, yeah,
but
the condescending. That's the word.
The
I'm
attitude
for.
of mansplaining.
Yeah, there's a lot of condescension towards her
that.
generally throughout the show early on because she's little, and then of course there's character growth later on, and so she's always trying to act really like adult and mature and whatever. So she's not playing along with the whole, which is weird because she gets really into the Western thing, but then refuses to do the sci-fi thing because that's being childish.
That's childish.
Whatever. Yeah.
Westerns are mature.
Yeah,
come on.
And so at the end, right before the kiss with Abed and the noble sacrifice and whatever, she decides to okay, like this is actually kind of cool, and she gets into it. But
she feels bad for calling him immature.
Exactly. And the great thing, she has this wonderful line, and it's so perfect for when a non-nerd tries to be nerdy.
Oh yeah.
So, she says to Abed, "You're a hero for standing outside of it," referring to kind of like not getting involved with people's personal relationships and stuff like Pierce does with everybody, like Jeff does with everybody, Britta with everybody. She says, "You're a hero for standing outside of it." And then Abed, still totally committed to the Han Solo role, says, "Heroes are great, but I'll take a blaster every time." And then she says, Annie says, "Anyway, just wanted to let you know I don't think you're immature," because she's called him immature for being so into the Han role. And then she says, "I think you're great for a no-good, laser-faced Jabba scoundrel." And then he's like, "You're good, kid. Don't get cocky." It's so just perfect. You're a no-good Jabba scoundrel. It's so perfect because it reminds me kind of like when my mom tries to talk Star Wars with me, and I'm like, "Bless your heart, mother. You're trying so hard and failing so colossally." Mm-hmm. But that's one of my favorite lines is when she says that, because she's so sincere in like trying to put forth an effort that's like, I can't even be mad at you for butchering this, but boy, that was bad. And it's really funny.
Yeah. I love Abed's character in general as just like they're never very specific about it, but it's heavily implied that he's just, he's somewhere on the spectrum. I think someone does straight up say, it's like, what, is he autistic at some point? And this show is a great example of how autistic people can often use media as these cultural touchstones that helps them relate to other people when they have trouble following social cues and everything. And Abed is a great example of how someone can not just do that, but can thrive doing that. Like, he gets along well with a lot of people, and partly it's just because he knows how they react to their media, and so he knows how to imitate that media. And I like it. I like that example in there.
They do have throughout the episode, they will actually quote Star Wars directly 3 or 4 or 5 times. And one of my favorites is towards the end of the episode. It's actually almost right at the very end. So the whole spray paint, or the whole paint in the sprinklers, is sort of a distraction to draw most of the troops in there and get most of them, and then leaving the main super weapon defenseless.
The minigun defenseless.
While Jeff Winger leads the rest of the Rebel Alliance to destroy the super weapon. And so he's giving his typical Jeff Winger inspiring speech right before they go into action, and he says, "Some of us won't make it, but there is a place where we'll see each other again, and that place is Denny's." Which is so anticlimactic. And then somebody asks, "Which Denny's?" And he says, "We'll figure it out later." And then this old guy, "The one near the 15 exit, I'm banned from there." And then Jeff says, "Then I'll see you in hell." Let's kick some taint. And then they go and charge and all get slaughtered because his plan is terrible. But it's just really funny how you have it. Dan Harmon is such a beautiful dialogue writer.
He is.
Where he can make these really inspiring things that build up and then totally let you down with and that place is Denny's. And it's just the whole feeling collapses, and then it's joke, and then boom, Star Wars reference, because this is a Star Wars episode, and it's you're brilliant.
He knows how to use that for humor, because that becomes a callback later when Jeff gets shot right off the bat, and he's leaving. And it's like, well, we'll see you at Denny's. Denny's is for winners.
It's so good. Yeah, Denny's is for winners. It's really, really well done, and all of those Star Wars where they actually quote Star Wars. You don't even see them coming. They're hidden in another joke that one, where it's, oh, the joke is going this way. Just kidding. That joke didn't go anywhere, but that's kind of funny. That's part of that joke. And boom, here's a Star Wars line.
Yeah.
Very well written.
Almost anything Dan Harmon has done is you can use as a masterclass example of humor. He knows what he's doing. Yeah,
he's incredibly funny. He is. You're absolutely right. A master of humor and humorous writing. He's incredibly funny.
And using humor for character growth. Have you seen his Harmon Quest series that he's doing
I
now?
have not.
Yeah, I've watched a bit of that, but I watched a video that was going through the way that Dan Harmon plays RPGs compared to most people, and how he's based it was this guy just geeking out over let me outline for you how you can see in Dan Harmon's role playing on Harmon Quest just how good of a writer he is. He is very much not just playing a character, he is writing a story about this character.
Yeah.
And it was a really neat thing. Dan Harmon is an excellent writer. Mad respect for the man.
There's this one from Leonard. So Leonard is this 90-year-old student at this community college who's really funny in a quirky way. So he stands up, to try to take many of them out, and he gets a couple of them, and he's like, "Eat paint, you stormtrooping city college knob gobblers!" And then he gets shot. Oh man, ooh, it's so good. Another little Star Wars reference.
I like the line of just look alive, everybody. Leonard, you don't have to work hard or something like that.
It's like Leonard, good enough. Oh man,
I had forgotten to. I pulled out this episode to watch it, and I was like, when Magnitude showed up, I was just like, oh, that's right, it's Sid from Gallivant. I forgot he was in this. It's delightful.
See, and I always watched Gallivant and thought of him as Pop from Community.
No, he's the Magnitude.
Yeah.
Is that Pop? I don't know.
No,
It's been a while.
Yeah, Magnitude is what he calls himself, but he always says Pop. That's like the only
right.
thing that he
Pop,
ever
Pop.
says.
It's his catchphrase.
Which is great because he makes a heroic sacrifice very early
throws
on in the
himself
Star
onto
Wars.
a paint grenade.
Yeah, they drive like a little robot, like a bomb diffusing robot in there, and it's got a water balloon filled with paint and like some sort of explosive. So they're like, oh my gosh, it's a grenade! And so everybody's like diving for cover, and Magnitude dives down over it, and it explodes, and he rolls over, he's like, pop. And they're like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Because he gets one pop out, but not the other one. It's so funny.
Oh, I love that show.
Oh, go watch Community if you haven't.
It does get rather raunchy if you're sensitive about that. Like maybe Ross and Carrie might not want
Sometimes,
to watch it.
yeah.
There are definitely some heavily raunched moments, like the revelation of the community college's new flag,
Yeah.
which was designed by the group and is just their hidden anus.
Yeah. Or the, like, be nice to Annie, we try not to sexualize her, immediately followed by a overly sexualized shot of Annie. Or that Christmas episode where she tries to seduce Jeff with the song. She's like a slutty, like, Santa Claus kind of thing. It's a funny show. Oh, my goodness. Woo. But, yeah, go watch Community. That episode is really funny. And any Star Wars fan will.
Well, and Community is like we had a lot of long-time, familiar actors in it. Joel McHale was one I'd seen a lot of before. Chevy Chase. I mean,
yeah,
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase.
I remember actually when it started, I was just like, wait, Chevy Chase is alive? Like, I haven't seen him in anything for ages, and he did Community and Chuck at the same time. He was in both of those.
Oh, I didn't know he was in
Oh yeah,
Chuck.
and he's
I only
like
watched, like, the first season
he's
of
like the
Chuck.
main villain in Chuck.
Oh, wow.
In like in the third season, he shows up as like the arch nemesis main villain.
The D&D episodes of Community
He's
are
also
fantastic,
the arch nemesis main villain in Community.
in Community, so yeah, the D&D episodes are really great. So
Yeah.
go watch those.
Yep. And you got Danny Pudi was basically discovered by this show. Is delightful. So was Danny Glover.
Yeah, Danny Glover. This was kind of his first foray into acting.
Yeah,
and then,
first major role, and now he's everywhere.
Yeah,
And I
and
love
doing
him.
a great job. He's really
He's delightful.
in
I love
everything
him.
he's been in that I've seen anyway.
Alison Brie.
That's the guy that played Lando for the rest of you that don't
Yes,
know.
yes, that's
Yeah.
our new Lando.
And so
Well, I was thinking even his minor role in The Martian. He does a great job.
He's
in
in The Martian.
You know?
He's in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Just a little.
Oh yeah, that's
cameo
right. Yeah, the
role.
little like gangster drug
he's the
dealer
uncle.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's Prowler. He's
Yeah.
Night Prowler, but he's just not in that role yet. But
He's the uncle to the Miles we haven't seen yet.
yes,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's delightful. I love him.
Yep.
And that's other than that. I don't know the actress that plays Britta. I feel bad about that. She's like the only one whose name I don't know. No, I don't know Shirley's name either.
Yvette Nicole Brown.
Yes, I
she's
did know
gone
her
on
name.
to do several things. She's
been
done.
around quite a bit.
She's done a lot of voice work.
Yeah.
Since then.
Yeah.
I know most recently because of Disney Plus. She's one of the voices in Lady and the Tramp, the live action Lady and the Tramp.
Oh.
Which is terrible.
Oh, of course.
But when you have a 2-year-old who likes dogs,
Sure.
then that's a show that will.
Sure.
Make
Parents
happy.
put some terrible
Yep.
things through their homes. It happens.
Yeah, so, there's that. But, anyway. Yeah. Shirley actually came dressed as, like, a preacher for the Western.
Yeah.
And she basically turns into Shepherd Book for the Star Wars part of
Yeah,
it.
that's fair.
She's still, like, a preacher doing her, like, Christian Shirley stuff, but, like, totally shooting people with crazy precision. She's like Shepherd Book. It's kind of fun. Anyway, Shepherd Book is from Firefly, if you don't know what that is. And if you don't know what that is, stop what you're doing and go watch it right now.
Yeah. This episode is inferior.
Yeah.
Go. More important is having seen Firefly and Serenity.
Yep, for sure.
In that order.
Yes, in that order. Exactly. But I think that's it, right? Unless anybody
Yeah,
else
it's a good episode. Love community.
Yep. Alrighty. Then go follow us on Twitter at More Civilized and join our Facebook group, More Civilized Podcast.
Indeed. Where you can find such posts as this week's favorite listener, who is Eric Harrison.
Hey!
And his post about the X-Wing mod.
Yes.
So there was an old game in the 90s called X-Wing where you fly an X-Wing. And of course now it's very, very old. I think that was even before they actually did true 3D back in the early gaming days. But now they're updating it and actually making updates to the game, which will be awesome. And I pulled this out because you can expect to see that and other such things on streams in the future.
Yep.
So, yeah, thanks, Eric.
Cool.
You can find me on Twitter at Random Paladin. I haven't forgot my name yet.
Yay!
Which I'm probably going to.
Makes me so sad.
Where you can talk to me and we can have a good time.
Yes. I am also on Twitter at Itinerant Baxter. And on our Twitter page and on our Facebook page, you can find a survey that I posted last week that I'm looking for people's complaints about The Last Jedi. I want to be able to discuss and or reply to those. I've had a couple responses on that so far, and I would love to have more. That will be active until the evening of the 12th. So you have until next week from when this aired to get any responses on there. If you want something addressed, or if you just want to hear us discuss it about The Last Jedi, then please put it on that survey.
And 2 special announcements.
Oh, yeah.
By the time this episode airs, we will have picked a winner for the tickets. We're recording right now on Saturday the 30th, so we haven't actually picked the winner yet. Otherwise, I would announce their name right now. But whoever it is, congratulations, you won. And we look forward to hanging out with you.
And your plus one.
And your plus one on opening night. And it'll be fun. And whoever won the Mandalorian poster, congratulations to you too, also. And the other announcement is, maybe by the time this episode airs, because I don't know when they're putting it up, but we were invited to go on another podcast called Plot Spackle, where they talk about plot holes and different things like that, and what might have been done to fix them. And so they invited us on to talk about Last Jedi, in anticipation of
the
episode
sequel.
9.
Yeah, the sequel movies, all the Disney movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Or no, it's just the sequel movies, yeah. But
Yeah,
not
the sequel
anthology.
trilogy, yeah. So we talked about different things that we might do to fix plot holes that were there, to improve the movies or whatever. And then we kind of talked a little bit about what, if I remember right, what episode 9, what we think might happen there. So as soon as we have a link for that episode, we'll share it on our social medias, but you should go give that episode listens.
And one more announcement.
And I believe Eric Harrison is one of the hosts on that, if I am not forgetting things.
Sounds right, yeah.
So, yeah.
And also, December 13th, we will be having an event where we will be watching Force Awakens and Last Jedi in Springville, Utah. The details can be found on our Facebook group.
Yep.
And on our Twitter.
Yeah, because, you're not going to remember an address when we just tell it to you, so watch the Facebook group where we can have links and maps and
that'll
all
be the
those
evening
details.
of the 13th. Watching those in preparation for Rise of Skywalker, which we will be, at that point, 6 days away from seeing.
Oh, it'll be so fun. So, yeah, come. We'd love to hang out with you guys, talk Star Wars, watch movies, eat food.
Bring things to sit on comfortably.
Yeah.
Just in case,
Bring foods to share if you so desire, or
we should
have
make it
allergic
a pajama
problems.
party.
No, I'm going to pass on that one.
Oh, did we announce time?
No. Ross,
So
what time is
we're going to go from 6 p.m. to whenever the movies are done. I didn't actually go through and look, and we'll probably take a little bit of a break
given the
in
length
middle.
of those movies, at least 10:30.
Yeah, that's I have it reserved from 6 to 11.
Okay.
So
6 to 11.
should be fine. So, yeah.
Yep.
Come have fun.
Yep, it'll be fun. And we'll, until next time, may the Force be with you.
Always.
I'm Anna Graves, and thank you for listening to a more civilized podcast.
Well, we are pretty cool.
Sure. For Star Wars
For a dog.
podcasters.
Still, that's weird to me, Ross.
I am a little
Why?
flabbergasted. No, it's
That's-
not just that he doesn't, but both of them.
Yeah, that's weird.
You know what? A lot of our food tastes are eerily the same, because we both also don't like most gravies. So,
I mean,
What do
that,
you do on Thanksgiving? What does your stuffing swim in?
I much prefer dry stuffing. And the wet stuffing that you bake in the turkey is terrible.
What?
No,
You have to do the
I
stuff out of
wouldn't
the
do
box.
I wouldn't do in a turkey, but Ross.
What is wrong with both of you?
All right.
That is the point of stuffing. It's literally called stuffing because you stuff it in the turkey.
Sure.
Shame.
I'm gonna have to bring some
But there are
stuffing
better
over
ways to do it.
No.
and have you try some, Ross.
What?
I'm gonna bring leftover stuffing with some gravy, and you're gonna eat it.
No.
Yes.
No, I won't.
Yes. What's this world coming to? We live in
Yeah,
a
I know.
society.
People don't even stuff their turkeys properly and do this proper stuffing.
Okay.
This episode is starting off way more contentious than it should.
The episode hasn't even started yet. He hasn't done the hello there.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Bobbity 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 fett. Bobbity bobbity fett.
goodness.
Mithna Narudo, Minchikabudo, Bibbidi Bob, Bobbity fett.
Please tell me we're
Outro take
recording
number
that.
one. Yeah. Yep.
Sweet.